Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain the situation in the news with the 9/11 perpetrators being held at Guantanamo. So let's dive into this article. The 9/11 families urge President Biden to reject plea deal with alleged Al-Qaeda operatives. Relatives of the 9/11 victims urge President Joe Biden to reject the plea deal with alleged Al-Qaeda operatives, including KHM. On Monday, more than 2,000 relatives of the victims of the 9/11-2001 terror attacks appealed to President Joe Biden to reject any plea deal with 5 alleged Al-Qaeda operatives who were involved in the tragedy, including the supposed mastermind, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. According to multiple reports last week, the Pentagon had notified the victims' families that the 5 suspects who have been detained in the Guantanamo Bay prison camp since 2006 are being offered plea bargains. The family members expressed their anguish in a letter to Biden saying, "The pain is all the worse as we learn from the Department of Justice, particularly on the eve of 9/11 anniversary, in a form letter it is proposing a deal with terrorist Khalid Sheikh Mohammed that will prevent a public trial and will continue to keep the information provided to his legal team secret and hidden." The Pentagon letter stated that under the proposed deal, the Gitmo 5 would accept responsibility for their actions and plead guilty in exchange for not receiving the death penalty, as per CBS News. The letter continued, "You are our president, and we ask that you prioritize the interests of the victims of the 9/11 terrorist attacks over those of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or other terrorists, that you will not bow to the demands any embarrassed government officials willing to sacrifice transparency." The stalled for years by doubts about the evidence in the case. Specifically, there has been legal ambiguity over whether the government can use information obtained through so-called enhanced interrogation techniques, such as waterboarding, which critics call torture, as evidence in military tribunals. Officially, 2,977 civilians were killed when the 4 hijacked planes crashed into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Brett Eagleson, who leads 9/11 Justice, a group that advocates for the families of the victims and supported the letter to Biden, lost his father, Bruce, in the South Tower that day. He told the New York Post on Monday, "I think that the most shameful thing about this is the 9/11 community has been fighting not only Saudi Arabia for accountability, but we've been fighting our government. The US government wants to continue the cover-up. They don't want KSM talking, and they do not want a public trial because KSM, in effect, would spill the beans on everything he knows about the Saudi government involvement in 9/11 and the US intelligence failures," he added. The family praises Biden for an executive order he signed earlier in his administration promising to release more information on the public about the attacks. But they argue that the FBI and Justice Departments still keep crucial information about Ridda's role in aiding 19 hijackers secret. They wrote, "It is our fervent hope you will once again stand up for the victims and immediately demand that your government release the evidence we have tirelessly fought for, which we believe will further reveal the role Saudi agents played in the 9/11 terrorist attacks. These agencies are continuing to show their intransigence, and they are not complying with the Biden executive order. And we think if President Biden knew that officials in the FBI and CIA were ignoring this executive order, that he would be outraged." Eagleson. Another thing I want to point out is during the Trump era, the Trump team ruled out any plea bargain with these terrorists. But now, the Biden Pentagon's Office of Chief Prosecutor is looking to deal, presumably, to at last get rid of the hot potato before the next election. You see how these people are making things political, and they don't want all these issues and problems. I think that these people should be punished to the full extent of the law, these terrorists. And also it says in this other article, whatever the thinking, it would be injustice. KSM, which is the initials of the mastermind behind 9/11, terror attacks. They killed nearly 3,000 people. And there shouldn't be any thing political about this, but in these days, everyone's divided, everyone's making everything political, and I think it's very cringe. And another thing this other article points out is, or maybe after a possible, God forbid, a Biden re-election, since he'll never face the voters again after 2024. So I certainly think it would be terrible if there was a plea deal with these terrorists. And people are absolutely outraged over this. And that we know as we get closer to the anniversary of 9/11 that you really wonder the people that are in office or in the government if they really have our best intentions or not. And on this channel I talk about a variety of different topics, and I felt this was extremely important. And thank you all for watching, and you can put your thoughts below.